for sharing your afternoon with us here on Kababayan LA. It's a Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for your American Dream.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Once again, our Kababayan compañera, Attorney Allison Aquino, is joining us today on the show to explain to us some things about immigration. And there have been two cases recently in which the courts decided, the court's decision was split. Is that correct?
Exactly. And that's the nature of the law. Unfortunately, the law is subject to many interpretations. And so these particular cases that came down pertain to the Child Status Protection Act.
Okay, let's talk about the Child Status Protection Act. I have some notes with me here. It's talking about aging out, and it's something that affected me also coming here because my parents' petition got approved, and by then I was already over 21, and so I got left behind in the Philippines. I had to come here through another avenue, which is a student visa.
Yes, it happens very often with Filipinos, primarily because the waiting periods are so long. These particular cases, one of them involved a Filipina, actually, who was sponsored by her mother under the Family Third Preference category. And at the time that she was sponsored by her mother, she had a dependent child who was only 13 years old at that time. By the time that the priority date became current, however, the child had already aged out. And so the cases that came down recently pertain to one provision of the Child Status Protection Act, because there are actually several. This one particular provision talks about the ability for a child who has aged out and whether that child can retain the priority date from the original petition on a petition filed thereafter by the primary beneficiary.
I remember we talked about this before, and the answer was, can you retain?
The answer was no.
Okay.
And the Ninth Circuit Court, which California is a part of, has again agreed or has interpreted the law to indicate again that the answer is no.
No, right.
About a week thereafter, however, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued another decision in a case called Matter of Khalid. And in that particular case, the court disagreed with the Ninth Circuit.
Okay.
And indicated that you can, in fact, retain the priority date.
So there are two cases now, and it came out like totally different from each other, the results, right? So
exactly.
As a lawyer, what do you do? It sounds very confusing.
Well, and as a person who is under that situation, it is very confusing.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's the nature of the law. It's a lot of interpretations, and it's subject to various courts.
So luck of the draw, depending on who's deciding?
Well, it's a lot of the legal arguments that are presented. And so the moral, really, as far as this is concerned, is that this particular provision of the Child Status Protection Act continues to evolve. It's certainly not settled law. And individuals who might benefit from being able to retain the priority date, right now, it does not look good in the Ninth Circuit. However, other circuits, like I said, in the Fifth Circuit, it is positive.
Right.
And so individuals, especially those who are in the Ninth Circuit, they need to continue pursuing this, and they need to continue litigating the case in front of the courts.
Oh, okay. And you're talking about people who should decide to maybe contact a lawyer and see if you can challenge the decision of the court, correct?
Precisely.
Okay.
And it's especially important, for example, for people in removal proceedings. Individuals in removal proceedings might not have any other ability to defend their deportation from the United States. And this particular area of the law is still unsettled.
Right.
And so it's still a potential. So you can use these arguments and make these arguments in front of the court and try to assert that you can go ahead and retain the priority date.
Okay. For people now then who are maybe waiting for their petition to get approved in the Philippines, and they feel that they're not going to make it and they're going to age out, is there any relief available to them now or an alternative that they can do?
Well, you can certainly pursue court action in order to try to argue that the immigration's interpretation of the law and the Ninth Circuit's interpretation of the law is incorrect.
Even before they age out, or do they actually have to wait to age out before they can make the argument?
Both. You don't have to wait. You can go ahead and pursue the case in front of the district court.
So say, for example, I was there and my parents were here and they feel that I was going to age out. Do I contact the lawyer, or can they, as petitioners, contact you?
Yes, absolutely. They need to go ahead and make contact and see what possibilities are available to them. but they also need to understand that it's a challenge.
Okay.
And it's certainly not a clear-cut case.
Right.
But it is, given the significance of being able to retain the priority date, it's definitely worth the fight.
Right, exactly. And also, in your opinion as a lawyer, and you've been through this and you've been exposed to this, the more people litigate, is there a way that we sway the court's decision when there's more people coming, or maybe change the law?
Absolutely. Especially when the court starts seeing the ramifications of their various interpretations. And that's precisely why we have a Supreme Court who kind of settles these disputes between the various circuit courts. And so it's important for people to assert their rights. Even though it is a challenge, it's important.
And we certainly thank God that we have Attorney Allison Aquino and Attorney Richard Lowe, Aquino and Lowe Law Firm, fighting with us on this. Thank you so much for explaining everything to us every Wednesday here on the show, and more power to you.
Thank you, Janelle.
They do give free consultation, office consultation, that's the number to call on the screen. Schedule your appointments now. Also, you may reach them via email, also on their website. That's the website as well on the screen. We'll be back more on Kababayan LA. Don't go away.